Good evening. This is Ken at Tortoise Capital. This is the daily quiz for January 29th, 2019. We're looking at Wheaton Precious Metals, renamed from Silver Wheaton a while ago. So we have a yesterday's close and a gap up. Number one is the break of the 5-minute opening range, or basically a failure at the opening. We're already down below the VWAP and collapsing, so our natural target would be back to close the gap, and we basically get there with a hybrid frog entry. You'd be getting in somewhere between 1 and 2. You have a formal P1 here, RLCO outside the river. You also have an RLXD here shortly thereafter. I would count this as an owl entry, vicinity 2, once the 30 rolls over and the 10 rolls over, or the dragon. So somewhere around in here you'd find an owl entry, which coincides with number 3, which is a PSAR flip. You'll notice that the MACD histogram has rolled over right in this area too, so you've got all signs pointing to down. Number 4 is failure to fail further. You have an RLCO here again right at the edge of the river, and it re-enters a dragon at 4. 5 is a pocket entry. I would call it basically an owl. It is in vicinity of 5 because you have an unambiguous move. P1, RLXD. You have the dragon rolling up and the 30 rolling up. Notice how sharply the 30 changes once it gets 30 minutes in, and now you no longer have yesterday's price action to influence the 30. So it's a pretty sharp move. So 5 would be that pocket entry. I would accept that as an owl. 6 is a confirmation with the PSAR flip. You went from this PSAR down, an entry vicinity, the flip, and then the flip confirms. That also coincides, we'll see here at 11, with the winter becoming spring and rolling back up. But more of that one later. So 6 is the PSAR flip. 7 is price crossing the VWAP. So now we're back past the Bollinger Band mean to the VWAP. Holds support at 7 and continues. This would have been a reasonable second position. After this little shelf, we have a pocket continuation at 8. 9 was 1 leg, 2 legs, 3 legs up and starting to fail. As we're in the fall, has come through that thin red river and now approaching the 0 line. So 9 was a reasonable entry, or a reasonable exit. So 30 cents of gain, really on about a 10-cent initial risk. So in terms of execution risk, that's like 3 to 1. And same on the second position. So that's a good one to lock in as you're, almost over an hour into that trade. So that's 9 is a reasonable exit on a 1, 2, 3, or an RLXD, or leaving the Red River. Take your pick. Money management holds the 90. Notice how the 90 acts as a nice boundary all the way up. 10 is summer, fall, entering the winter at 10. 11 is winter becomes spring, followed shortly thereafter by entering the Red River below the 0 line. So this is 12 is crossing from spring into summer. We've got that move in nice shape. 13 is still summer and leaving the river, so that's really like a confirmation. 14 is summer has rolled over to fall. You can see it starting to stall. When it doesn't fail further, right in here, you would actually, if you could see a little closer, you would see the MACD line crossing back over its 5 pure and simple. And then when it took off above the open, that's a confirmation that negates, as Robert Gardner would say, the candle negation of all this adverse price action here. So that's a reasonable place to add. Lock this in. And then a gentle entry or a gentle exit. So 14, you're riding that all the way above because you're above the 0 line. And then at 15, you can see that we're approaching the 0 line in MACD histogram. So this is anywhere in here is a reasonable exit. Okay, so that's today's quiz for January 29th, 2019. Keep your wrist measured and your powder dry.